And in this session, we also are talking about what are the possibilities of kohlrabi, how can you market kohlrabi in the right way. In Germany, it's already a settled product, as well as in some Asian countries, where I will be talking a bit more about it later on. And in the rest of Europe, it is less known, but it's a very versatile product where you can do a lot of items with. If we look at kohlrabi in Asia, we see that red kohlrabi is very popular in Korea and used for kimchi. Especially the high brix content is popular over there. Even in Vietnam, it is a top 5 vegetables which is used in the soup. And in Taiwan, it's also very popular and used in soups as well. So in those countries around in Asia, you see a lot of developments in the kohlrabi part. And even in the Netherlands, you now see a rising popularity of, for example, poke bowls, which are with a lot of fresh vegetables. And kohlrabi is a really nice ingredient to include instead of the traditional radish, for example. I would like now would like to give the floor to Julian, which will have a presentation called "An Eye on the German Market," and he will explain you a bit more about kohlrabi marketed over there. Oh.
Yeah, hi everybody. Good afternoon, or for some of you, maybe good morning. I hope everybody can hear me clearly. I'm Julian Melcher from Germany. I'm the sales rep in the western part of Germany, and it's an area where lots of kohlrabi is grown. So it's one of my maybe special products. So I will give you a short overview of the German market, how it's grown, a bit of the success story, the history of kohlrabi in Germany, and how it looks in the market. Maybe some good or some bad examples, but how it's done in Germany. And let's start with an eye on the German market. Yeah, kohlrabi, a German success story. It had a widespread in Europe in the 16th century and a rapid spread in the German-speaking area in the 19th century. And till now, to this day, it's a typical German vegetable. It's eaten raw as a snack or cooked with a bechamel sauce. This is a typical way for older people. And it has this really sweet taste, so it's perfect for kids, maybe as a snack, raw. They take it to school, to the kindergarten. So it's a perfect way to give the kids some vegetable, and it's a bit more like a candy than a cabbage. Growing in other countries is mainly for export to Germany. It contains high vitamin C and antioxidantien. So also even the name was adopted by other countries. For some examples, you see here kohlrabi in Great Britain, kohlrabi in Belgium, and also the Asian countries sometimes use very similar word to kohlrabi. So you see. Even the name is a typical German thing. It's used all over the world. So if this is not a sign, I don't know. I give you some facts and numbers about the growing. So we have in Germany about the acreage in Germany is about 1,100. Sorry. 1,800 hectares. So this is the number. It's still stable. It has a high in 2012 with a bit above 2,000 hectares. But it's almost stable. We have approx 1,300 growers, and that means we are harvesting about 56,000 tons per year, and almost only outdoor growing. Only really a few hectares are indoor growing, but because of the wintertime imports from Southern Europe, Spain, and Italy, it makes no sense to grow kohlrabi in the greenhouse in wintertime. So we have transplantings on the field from March till August, and in this time we have 100% German production. Yeah, the most common product forms, we have the typical white, maybe shiny green kohlrabi. It's a standard for fresh market with or without leaves in the market. The typical size is with a diameter from 8 to 12 centimeters. It depends a bit on the supermarket, on the food chain. We have the violet ones. It's a special market in Germany, mainly used for Halloween. So it's a really short window, marketing window in Germany. And we have the type, it's called Superschmelz. It's a really big kohlrabi type, more than 1 kilo per piece. It's a big industry type for cutting. Yeah, something about the cultivation. The planting season is March till August, and the planting density, it's approx 100,000 plants per hectare, sometimes a bit more, and we're going down to 17 centimeter in a row planting distance. It's really necessary to have lots of kohlrabi at a hectare, to have a really upright plant, and it's really necessary for the upright shape to have upright leaves, and that all of the kohlrabi are standing in the row, and you can harvest them really easily. Special requirements: it's necessary that you have even water and fertilizer supply to not to get cracks, and kohlrabi is really sensitive to high nitrogen content. So if you have changing water content in the soil, or you give too much fertilizer at one time, kohlrabi cracks really, really easily. It's the same thing with fast changing temperatures. We are talking about 55 to 65 growing days after transplanting. So it's a really fast crop, maybe similar to lettuce. The harvest is nearly 100% by hand, and the harvesting rate is about 70 to 95%. Depends a bit on the quality, and the biggest problem is, as I said, are the cracks. Yeah. We have some typical diseases with the biggest problems. It's clubroot, like in other brassicas, Xanthomonas, Pseudomonas, bacteria, and downy mildew. You can avoid it with a big cultivation break from 3 to 4 years, a minimum, between the brassicas. And the problems with insects are getting more and more. So especially cabbage fly, cabbage root fly, rapeseed beetle, and the German growers avoid it with net coverage and big distance to rapeseed fields. So here you see maybe a perfect row of healthy, upright kohlrabi. This is how it should look like if it's ready to harvest. Yeah, what does the market want? How does the perfect kohlrabi look like? Upright leaves. We have to have dark green leaves, because the consumers in the supermarket say, okay, I have green leaves, I have dark green leaves, the fruit is fresh. So this is what we want. Dark green leaves, stable leaves to pull it out of the ground at harvest, a smooth skin, a thin root, a flat round shape to put lots of kohlrabi in the box, and a diameter from 8 to 12 centimeter is needed. What we don't want to have are breaking leaves, bright or thick leaves, messy leaves, so the leaves are lying around the kohlrabi. This is we don't want. Cracks. Sometimes some fruits getting a ripped pumpkin skin. It looks a bit like a pumpkin. We don't want it. A rough skin or a high round shape, maybe like a bottle. So here we have another example. It's a perfect example for the kohlrabi. What we want, it's upright, stable, and dark leaves. A flat round tuber, high above the ground, so it's not dirty from the ground, and no cracks. By the way, this is a Cosma. The variety Cosma of the Bejo assortment. Yeah. Eye on the market. What does the consumer want? Different types of product presentations. And you see here some pictures, how it can look or how it, maybe shouldn't look. So the kohlrabi, as it's harvested, it's packed in box directly on the field, like on the picture. And the growers are putting 10 to 25 pieces in a box. The box is directly used for product presentation in the discounter. So they took the box and put it in the discounter, or sometimes in the more expensive supermarkets too. And they're selling it with leaves is the most common way. The consumers want to see the freshness, and they use the leaves. This is a picture before, so it's getting like this. It's getting the supermarket, but yeah, after 2 or 3 kohlrabis are sold, it can be look like that. This is also the typical view you get in the supermarket, and in the expensive supermarkets and in the discounters, it's always the same. The consumers want to see the leaves, but they're pulling it away and throwing it again in the box. It's not the best way to present it, but the German consumer wants to see the leaves, and you will find it in every supermarket in Germany, pictures like that. Sometimes you have rabbit boxes again next to the vegetables, and the consumers can throw the leaves in the rabbit boxes for for someone who wants to take it with them. But mostly looks like that. And there's also an improved way. It's an easier way to sell it without leaves. You see, less boxes are needed. You can put more kohlrabi in a box. Less boxes are needed. It's also a perfect thing for the cheaper transport. And it's sometimes a good way to sell a product despite bad leaf quality. You have improved shelf life, and it avoids the chaotic presentation after the first undecided customer. But it's a more common way in the southern of Germany. In the most parts of Germany, you have no chance to present it like an apple, like on this picture. Also a typical German way. I think this way is more and more growing. It's the younger persons. You have frozen kohlrabi, maybe as sticks in a bechamel sauce, or in a glass like that. If I say a few years ago, the older people are using fresh kohlrabi, cutting it in sticks and eating it with maybe potatoes 2 times a week. But now this is more the common way for the younger people. They buy frozen kohlrabi, and it's getting faster. And the younger people prefer the fresh product, the raw product, to eat it like a snack. So the use is it changed a bit, but you see the acreage is stable. It's still a nice product. It's lots of them is used in Germany. So could be a good possibility for other European countries to use kohlrabi too. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian, for your presentation and eye on the German market. Are there any questions from the audience? What I was wondering, Julian, for the German market, is taste an issue of the kohlrabi?
Yeah.
I don't hear you, Julian. Maybe you
hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now, and I see you as well. Yeah, what about taste for the German market?
Yeah, it's a pity. It's a bigger market. For supermarkets, it plays no role. Yeah, it's not nice to hear, but yeah, because we are selling a product that we can eat and taste plays no role. But for smaller markets, for direct selling, it's really important. Everywhere you can taste a product, taste will play a role. But yeah, in the typical supermarket situation, you have no chance to taste it, and so it's more important to look tasty than to taste. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because you also mentioned that some of the consumer trends are a bit changing. So from the meshed ones, they use a bit more frozen, but also raw and fresh products. So if they eat it raw as a snack, I assume taste is more an issue than when it's boiled, for example.
Yeah. But when it's boiled, you use it with a sauce, with a bechamel sauce, for example, and yeah, like in all other vegetables, the sauce is the taste-giving thing. Yeah, but the problem is, maybe if you compare it to a potato, everybody knows some names of potato or maybe strawberry varieties, and is looking especially for these varieties. But at kohlrabi, no consumer can tell you a name of a kohlrabi variety. So if you're buying a kohlrabi today and it's tasting really good, and you're going in the supermarket the next time again, maybe you get a total another variety. So there's no chance to compare the varieties.
Mm-hmm. So that leads for a kind of concept then.
Yeah,
you know.
of course.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe you can say something about this. We have a question about kohlrabi is quite common in Germany and hardly known in other countries, and especially in other European countries. Do you know where that's what the cause is, or what the problem is in that? Do you have any idea?
No, I don't know. Maybe it's a thing that's maybe because potato is a typical German product too, and the older people are eating it together, but I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also that's a completely different question, but do you know about the bricks content of kohlrabi?
Oh no, sorry, but it's really there's a widespread between the varieties, and if you taste different varieties, there is really a difference. Some of them are tasting really like candy, and I say some of them are tasting like a typical cabbage smells.
Mhm. Yeah, we know from our test that the variety Conan is very tasteful and has also quite some juiciness, and especially meant for the fresh market. Another question, Julian, is kohlrabi for Germany a year-round product, or is it related to a certain season?
Yes, it's a year-round product. I think in summertime more the raw eaten product, maybe like sticks or for salad. And maybe in winter time it's more the cooked product, but you can say it's a year round. Yeah.
Okay. And also in Germany it grows year round, or do you have some import from some of the countries then?
Yeah, in winter time you have imports from maybe Italy and Spain, And I think from planting season is from March to till August, and the last kohlrabi in Germany is harvested in the beginning of November. And in this month we have 100% German production, but in winter time, it's mainly imported from Southern Europe.
Okay.
We
have another. Yeah.
It's too cheap to produce it in greenhouses in wintertime. It's too easy to grow it in warmer countries and import it. And you can say it's an easy grown crop. And they will import it.
Okay. Can you inform us about what kind of herbicides are used in Germany on kohlrabi?
What kind of herbicides? I think it's the main herbicide is before the transplanting, and then you have a fast-growing plant, and it's lots of mechanical mechanical way, but really the special products that they are spraying, I don't know.
No, okay. And then one last question before we go to Jeff. Which Bejo variety do you recommend as the most upright leaves and longer stem, so that they grow a little bit above the soil?
Okay. Yeah, this is a good question, because we have directly more of these varieties, and our old variety or the variety which is really good in the market is the Conan. Conan has upright leaves, really tastes really, really good. It's like candy. But our new varieties, Condor and Cosma, I think are a bit more upright, if it's possible. Such a bit more upright than Conan. And the only difference, I think, is that Cosma has shorter leaves. In my background, this is Cosma behind me. But I think if you use Condor, Cosma, and Conan, you have perfect upright leaves. They're high above the ground. All of the three varieties will bring the product the consumer want and the market want.
Okay. One last question, Julian. You showed us a picture of the nice crate, which was really nicely presented, the kohlrabi, and then afterwards, if a few are out, it's a kind of a mess. Is that for German consumers a problem? If they see such a messy crate, they won't buy it anymore. So, or is that quite common and they don't care? Or is there? Do you see that in a few years' time there will be some other developments in the presenting of the kohlrabi in the retail shelves?
Yeah, would be nice to see in the evening if the rest is thrown away. It's a good question. If you need kohlrabi and you're in the supermarket, I think you will buy the last ones, because the tuber is already okay. Only the leaves are totally chaotic in the box. But it would be a good question. What is in the evening? If they are sorted again, or if they take the next box. But it's not a good view on this product. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And
but do you see any developments of this presentation that might change in the future?
Yeah, maybe the change could be to market it without leaves, like an apple.
As you showed as well. Yeah.
It's in my opinion, it's the best way. You can put maybe 50 in a box, not only 25. It's better for transport. It's better for shelf life. If you have leaves, they are transpirating, and I think you have to sell it the same day in the warm supermarket. And if you don't have leaves on the kohlrabi, you can leave it a few days in the warmer temperatures in the supermarket. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julian. I would like to give the floor to my colleague Jeff. Who will do a presentation about the kohlrabi chain market opportunities?
All right. Can you hear me? Welcome, everyone. I'll bring up the presentation. Yeah, I'd like to speak today a little bit about here in the U.S., our main focus for chain marketing opportunities. And our focus here in the U.S. is really in what we call the value-added segment. And we see kohlrabi fitting into that segment here in the U.S. And I'll show you some examples of how that might happen. Oops, there we go. Okay, so from a standpoint of chain marketing focus, we look at several different areas, especially here in the U.S. and produce sections. These are some of the common ways that products are value added. So as an example, you may see a common product like a head of broccoli or what have you, where they apply a known brand name to that product, more or less as a quality assurance measure, and people will buy it because they feel that with that brand name, it must be good quality. There's also examples of usage guidance, recipes, etc., to help people be able to use the products in more creative ways or more tasteful ways. And then convenience has been a very large piece of the value-added segment. Maybe a great example here in the U.S. would be cut and peel carrots, which are the long emperor carrots that are processed into basically what people commonly refer to as baby carrots. But there's a lot of examples. Bagged salads is another example where basically you have cut lettuce and different vegetables for a ready-to-use salad is another example. The strongest idea for value-added, of course, is proprietary, when you have unique or interesting genetics, or possibly sometimes older products that are rediscovered and made into very enjoyable eating experiences for consumers. And we see kohlrabi really as both convenience. We are looking very strongly at a ready cut or a processed product for the American market, but it's also proprietary because of the unique genetics that Bejo has in this segment. So those genetics that we're focused on here is our variety called Kossak. As you might be able to tell by the picture, it makes a very large, giant type kohlrabi. And the advantage is because it's a hybrid and naturally makes this size, the flesh on the inside retains a very good eating quality. It's very crispy, juicy, sweet, a very nice product. Whereas with many of the regular kohlrabis, if you try to push those in the field to become large or extra large, you start to rapidly lose the texture and the eating quality. They can become woody and so forth. So Kossak really solves that problem and provides a reliable yield to the grower of a very large, giant kohlrabi. I believe it was mentioned before, but and it is kind of interesting, but it's such a popular product in Germany, some parts of Asia, and I believe Israel as well. I remember speaking to a gentleman about that. But here in the U.S., this is, for the most part, not a very well-known vegetable. It's probably best known in what we call the home and farm garden market. So small growers, roadside growers, home gardening, etc. But you won't see this product very substantially in retail grocery stores. But the eating attributes of kohlrabi are really nice. It can be used in a number of different ways. Raw snacking, like the baby carrots I mentioned previously, but also as a cooked main and side dishes and noodles and so forth. So the Kossak, the giant hybrid variety, really gives us the type of product where it can be processed efficiently in a facility, whereas the smaller kohlrabis, it's very inefficient to try to process those into finished products. So in process, as you can see, hopefully from the picture a little bit, there's a number of different ways that we're looking at. For raw snacking, we're primarily looking at sticks and chips. For salads, shreds, and we're also promoting what essentially is a crouton-shaped cube, which can go into salads. It's very crunchy and fresh, and really provides a non-wheat-based crouton, so to speak, for the salad. In cooking, the pasta has proven to be really exceptional. In my opinion, of all the vegetable noodles, kohlrabi comes the absolute closest to replicating the eating experience of real pasta. It looks like pasta, has a similar experience, and it can be cooked more al dente or softer, etc. So it's a really nice functioning product as a vegetable noodle. And then, of course, it could be a side, hash browns, and it also is excellent for mashed potatoes if you want to improve the health profile, the nutritional profile of mashed potatoes. You can do part kohlrabi and part potato in that serving. So here, this is an example in the middle. Kohlrabi is a character that we created, obviously more targeting the kids, but we believe that carrots, if you look at it, the snacking carrots, the baby carrots, have been the primary raw vegetable snack for a long time. Celery sticks are not really very popular, especially with kids. So really, it's been the baby carrot and not much else. So we feel it's time to have an alternative or something additional to the baby carrot, and we've had very good results in testing. The kids like the crunchiness and the flavor of it, so we think there's a real opportunity as a snacking product. These are probably a little bit small on the screen, I apologize, but these are some examples of some of the collateral materials that we're using to speak to the industry. At this stage, it's been primarily food service and school meal program providers, but we provide standardized recipes and then the various types of products that they can use in preparing different meals. And we've had good feedback from this at trade shows and so forth. The school meal programs is sort of a starting point for us because of some of the reasons I previously mentioned. We see this as an item that kids seem to enjoy and they like. So we've been working with some of the school meal program providers and some of the larger school districts, and basically, this product. Hang on, I can't read my own comments. Let me just make sure I'm quoting properly. Okay, yeah, the comments on there, what I wanted to point out is that the schools are mandated by the government to provide a certain vegetable content in the meals. And historically, what they've done is they've basically been responsible for plating that content. So in other words, they're required to make sure that the plate that's served to the child has a certain amount of vegetables on it. The problem is that studies have shown that 70 to 80% of these vegetables that are plated are being thrown in the trash on their way out of the lunchroom. So it's nice to plate those vegetables, but if it's not getting consumed, then you're not really impacting child nutrition. So we think there's an opportunity with kohlrabi to change that. We think we can get vegetables on the plate that the children will actually eat and thereby increase the nutritional content of the meals. Here's another example of the kohlrabi, and also we ran a test program with the Muppets characters. But as you can see, this type of approach, you can appeal to young children and so forth with either sticks or chips for snacking. And then for the older students and for adults, of course, this is an example of something we partnered with Kikkoman on recently at a school meal conference, and everybody was extremely happy with how this looked and tasted. It ate extremely well. So basically, it was a vegetable lo mein with our kohlrabi noodles and then Kikkoman products. But the noodle, as I said, it functions very, very close to real pasta. So it's amazing, what you can do with that. And then lastly, this is a collaborative that Bejo is participating with the Culinary Institute of America, and this is called Healthy Kids Collaborative. And essentially, they're holding conferences and activities with both suppliers and also with the school meal program key people across the country from the school districts and also from key providers. And by working with this group, we're hoping to promote kohlrabi, of course, but also to actually improve the child nutrition and get a better consumption of vegetables in the schools. So in summary, we see this as a really unique value-added item here, but we do see it in the American market as needing to be a processed product. Whole kohlrabis on the shelf, as was shown in Germany, is very limited here. You don't see it in the big grocery stores, except for perhaps in some small specialty sections. And perhaps that can follow down the road, but we believe if we expose consumers to the processed products, they'll begin to become familiar with kohlrabi and how good its the eating quality is. And then from there, it could become higher usage as a whole kohlrabi format purchase in the store by the consumer. And that's the end. I do have a short video. Let me show that to you real quickly. It's not very long, and see if this works around.
With our diverse crops, we're going to focus on bunching and stress tolerance. Here we have kohlrabi. The first variety is Kohlrabi, our well-known purple variety. Constance is the CMS improvement of Kohlrabi. So the top is a bit more upright, a bit more flexible for bunching. You can see the really nice, clean, smooth root.
With our diverse crops, we're going to focus on bunching.
It also has this beautiful purple leaf, which presents really well on the table. Then we have Chorus, our green-white variety.
And stress tolerance. Here we have kohlrabi
Variety with downy mildew
resistance.
resistance.
Our well-known purple
Conan,
variety.
the newer variety, which is a larger bulb and has fusarium resistance. And it also has a beautiful bunching presentation and an All-America selection winner. And we'll finish up with our biggest kohlrabi, Kossak, awesome for bragging rights, but also makes a beautiful noodle and stick for snacking.
With downy mildew resistance. Conan, the newer variety, which is a larger bulb and has fusarium resistance, and it also has a beautiful bunching presentation. And an All-America selection
Danielle,
winner.
do you want to take over, or is there any questions?
With our biggest kohlrabi, Kossak, awesome for bragging rights,
stay with
but
us,
also makes a beautiful noodle and stick for snacking.
Get rid of that. Okay, can you hear me? Or I can't hear you. I think your microphone's off, Danielle.
Sorry, sorry,
Okay.
Jeff. Yeah, I thought I clicked them both. Yeah, we do have some questions, and also I was wondering if you could paste maybe the link of the video in the chat, but because the sound was not always correct with us, and maybe for some of the audience as well. What would you recommend as best use of kohlrabi in new markets? So markets who do not know kohlrabi as a product yet. What would be your recommendation?
Well, as I said, we're approaching it from a processed product here, but I think if you're going to go for a bunching product, the Conan variety, we're pretty impressed with, and even when you're just selling a whole kohlrabi in the shelf, the Conan variety is a little bit larger, and so I think for the consumer it's a little more satisfying when you go through the work or the trouble of peeling the kohlrabi, cutting it, and to get to the flesh. You end up with a larger portion of flesh to use, and it's also very sweet and very tasty. So I like the Conan variety quite a bit.
Yeah, because that's also a remark made already. Because of this excellent tasting variety, the Conan, you don't need the sauce anymore, like you showed in your picture as well for the snacking. So that's even better. So yeah, you have said already that you target them via the processing part to get the consumers to know the product kohlrabi. What about like the noodles you showed? I can imagine. Have you already have some? Is it already in the retail shelf in packagings or? because we do see some noodles here in Europe, vegetable noodles, like from the zucchini or from carrots, for example. Are you already that far in the US?
We're not quite to retail yet. We're focusing on food service initially, so it's to the school meal programs and to restaurants. And so the packaging on that is a typical food service would be like 4 5-pound bags in a box kind of a thing, as opposed to a retail consumer package. One of the things we're investigating right now, we are doing some consumer testing and studies right now, but one of the challenges will be to educate people about kohlrabi so they understand what it is and how difficult will that be, and also from a cost standpoint for advertising and promotion to bring that awareness up to the correct level. So part of our strategy is that if we can get it to be used more frequently in restaurants and also in the schools, that people will become, more attuned with it. We're also talking to some of the meal box people like Blue Apron and so forth, who have shown interest in making it part of their meal kits that they send out to gourmet meal kits that go out to homes and so forth. So there's various strategies to try to get people more aware of kohlrabi first before we step into the mainstream retail.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Another question is that, maybe you can answer it, but I think it's more a question for Julian, but maybe you can both say something about it. Why are they that popular in Germany and Austria, the kohlrabi?
Yeah, that's interesting that it is sort of isolated to certain areas, but I mean, obviously, as Julian pointed out, it's something that's been around for a long time. So I think when something gets introduced and is used going back a long ways, then it sort of develops that whole thing. But why it didn't spread out beyond those areas more in the past, I can't answer that. I don't know.
Julian, can you add something to that, or? Julian, can you add something to the question? Your mic is muted, but.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's difficult to say. It's a long time in the past, so I don't know, but I think it's the chance now for all other countries in Europe to do it, to do the same way. Yeah.
Okay. I think this is also a question for you more, Julian, for to grow it in outdoor conditions or indoors. What can be the difference, and why should they grow it outdoor or even indoor? You're on mute. Oh, yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think the biggest problem is if you grow it indoor and if it's too dark, maybe in wintertime, or too warm in summertime, the leaves are getting too long, getting not strong enough, and you have problems to harvest it, and you have not the nice product like if you grow it outdoor. It's a typical brassica, and it's better to be a bit too cold than too warm.
Okay. And apart from Kossak, which of our hybrid varieties has the best potential regarding size of the product? Are there some other varieties we can also grow a bit bigger and use for industrial purposes?
Yeah, I think. Okay. Yeah, I think Kossak is the biggest one, and it's a perfect kohlrabi for the big industry types, and for cutting, maybe for the frozen market.
But I also heard once that if we grow Conan larger, that is also a good variety to use in industry.
Yeah,
do you have any?
Especially because of the taste. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any, Jeff? Any? How do you say it? Any experience with that?
I'm sorry, I was trying to move that video. Any experience with which question?
With a larger grown Conan, for example, for the processing industry.
Yeah, we've played around with it a little bit. You can get a larger size out of Conan, but not. You still can't get the same yield and size that we get from Kossak, in our experience. So it might be possible, but from a absolute maximum efficiency standpoint, we still believe the Kossak is the best.
Mm-hmm. You grow it also in cold weather conditions?
In the U.S., yeah, it basically grows quite well wherever we grow cabbage. So, we can grow cabbage in the north, the south, all over the U.S. And so it's really a very easy to produce product. And we believe commercial growers can grow it at about the same cost level as processing cabbage on a per pound farm gate value. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, for instance, in Italy, there is winter production for winter supply to Germany. Yeah, that is sometimes grown indoor on the plastic tunnels. But it also requires some different variety requirements. Another question I saw popping up.
I put someone on the size of Kossak. Just for us,
Yeah.
We typically like a size that's. I can only say it in pounds. I'm sorry, but in pounds it would be in the 6 to 7 pound range.
Okay.
Is the typical size that we would like to harvest at. It can get bigger, but I think as Julian noted, if you're not careful, sometimes you can get cracking in kohlrabi. So when you try to go, I mean, I've seen them at 10 pounds. But to get a more consistent with the texture and the processable size, it's usually 6 to 7 pounds.
Mm-hmm. And then another, I think that's also a good question. What about the smell of the processed fresh vegetables of kohlrabi? I mean.
Yeah, we haven't had an issue with that. And again, I think as Julian noted, some varieties maybe have a little bit more of the cabbage smell than others. But with Kossak, when we've processed it and so forth, we haven't had any, bad issues. But we also pay attention to the washing of it and how it's packed and what type of materials it's packed in and so forth. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you do special tests with it as well for this kind of things.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions still from the audience? Is there anything to add from your side still for Julian or Jeff?
I would say one other trick on the smell side, if you're concerned about that, is we did have a positive experience by running the cut kohlrabis through a light lemon water bath, and going through a light lemon water bath helped with the smell, but it also cuts down on surface bacteria. It's a natural way to cut down surface bacteria, and it didn't really interfere with the taste and the crunch and the of the kohlrabi. So a light lemon water bath might be another thing to try.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see another one coming up. Is the bricks an important factor in sales?
We haven't been asked about that. Really, it's just they taste and they see the end product and they consider it to be crunchy and sweet, slightly sweet, and have a nice taste profile. We haven't had any children be put off that it's not sweet enough or that it has, a bad taste or anything. We haven't experienced that yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, to conclude, we have seen how the German market developed in the kohlrabi and how it's also searched for some new items and to get into the newer consumer, and by the US, seeing some nice innovations, some inspiring. Some last question for you. Do you see how do you see the future? Because you are both busy with a lot of items on Kohlrabi. Jeff more in the processed way towards food service, getting it via that way to the consumers and getting them know the products. How do you see the future in general for Kohlrabi in your countries and maybe more worldwide to conclude?
Yeah, I think we will have to switch a bit more to maybe a typical convenience product, like like ready cutted sticks. I think the market for the cooked ones is a bit shrinking, but for fresh salads and for convenient products for kids, for fresh sticks, I think this is a market of the future. The younger people use more maybe innovative vegetables for cooking, maybe a bit more than kohlrabi, but I think it's a perfect product to use it for eat in raw for sticks for like candy. I think this is the best way to use it, and I think this is the future. And I think the marketing without leaves. And
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Jeff?
No, we're excited. It's a really interesting product. It has so much outstanding eating qualities, and it's very versatile. As we said, it can be eaten raw, it can be eaten cooked. You can do a lot of different things with it. So we're hoping that we're able to make it more known here in the U.S. and then eventually have it be a popular retail consumer product.
Okay. Thank you very much for your participation. Also, the audience, thank you very much for your questions. And I hope we have given you some insights in Kohlrabi and how it is marketed to inspire you. And yeah, the future will figure out if we will conquer the European markets with Kohlrabi. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.